okay, so tell me what your goal is with recording our conversation.
You're gonna suck. Everyone sucks at everything that they start, right? Like, you didn't just pick up an instrument and be good at it in 2 days. So it's like it's the same thing with doing this and making videos. Like, you're not gonna be good at it after 2 days. I didn't put enough emphasis on this when we spoke. Of like intentional consuming, intentional consumption. Have you been intentionally consuming?
What does that mean?
Well, how to build habits, right?
Yeah.
The environment is the biggest thing ever. So the way that he explains like how to build a good habit using environment is like, for example,
what I was doing just now is listening to a podcast by Marie Forleo. If you are a podcast person,
I like podcasts.
Yeah, so what I got out of this was to answer this on like a big whiteboard that I just got. My brother, Micah, you remember Micah? Mm-hmm. He encouraged me to get like a 3 foot by 2 foot notepad that you can like brainstorm on and write out your thoughts. So I did that, and that really helped on Saturday, just with like business planning and stuff. And it made me feel so energized. I went out and ran like my fastest half mile after that, like that I've done in like probably 3 years. It wasn't that fast, it was like 5 minutes, but still. Like, and then I had so much energy. I started my taxes. I was like, I drove to Orlando. I was up to like 2 a.m, like because of how, I don't know, it cleared out my mind when I did that. But these are my next questions to answer on my whiteboard from that podcast today. Where am I craving? It's like a challenge to answer for yourself. Where am I craving something different or better in my business or life? And you just like write down whatever comes to mind. What truth am I pretending not to know?
Okay.
So it's like, you might find out what you're trying to avoid when you answer that question. And then what rules in business or life have I been told that I have to follow, but they don't feel right for me? So you can like break the mold, you know, as an entrepreneur. If I don't change my daily habits, what will my life be better or worse 3 years from now? If everything stays the same. So they're just some good questions to like. And then to the gym point, it says up to 40% of our daily behaviors are habits.
Yes.
So it's crazy how many things we have to build in as habits, so we don't have to make that decision. It's just what we do naturally.
Like Atomic Habits from James Clear, the book that I recommended. Have you read it yet, or have you gone through it yet?
No, I have not. I have listened to 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Have you heard of that one?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, that one's really good. Atomic Habits, I don't know. Let me check and see if I've listened to that book before.
It's a good one. It's like, so you say obviously like 40% of what you do are habits. And then so Atomic Habits by James Clear goes across like how to build habits and destroy your bad ones. And a lot of it is with your environment and environmental cues. So it's like these habits just start from the moment that we wake up and like what your environment looks like, right? Yeah. So you have your environment set up every day that you just unconsciously keep doing the same things.
Right.
So it's like
I'm gonna take notes on what you're saying because I just learned that if you handwrite, it goes into your body better. So
yeah, handwriting's good.
But yeah.
And you write in cursive. That's crazy.
Very,
I write in cursive.
like a dinosaur. Yeah.
I write in cursive. A lot of people don't write in cursive anymore.
I know. There's my nieces and nephews. They go to the last school in the world that teaches cursive. I'm
Really?
pretty sure. It's in St. Cloud, Florida.
Wow. So it's here. Okay.
There's probably more, but it's becoming extinct.
It is.
People that write in cursive are becoming extinct.
Yeah.
So we are among very rare group in this world.
It'll be cool. We'll have our own language.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Did you ever learn Pig Latin as a kid?
Pig Latin? No.
Yeah, so like ude, uye, unwe, offike.
Okay.
You know what that means?
No.
So you just literally put a at the end of every word with the first consonant. So like do becomes, you take off the D, so just say the oo and then put the D at the end and then with an A. Oo, day, do. And then you, oo, yay. Get it?
So
Anwell, like your name, Anwell, J.
Anwell J.
So like table.
Liciela.
Well, mine does not work because it ends and starts with an A. But like, so like, say table and take off the T.
Ablea.
No, just so like how you say table, but without the T. Able, right?
Able T.
Able and then T, but put an A after the T.
Able. Where's the A come from?
Just because? It's just what you put on the end of everything to make it
able to.
With a long A sound.
Able to.
A long A is an A sound, like A.
Able te.
Yeah. You're like, I did it. Okay, so tell me what your goal is with recording our conversation. What do you?
Just to have it. I don't know what I'll use it for.
Okay.
I might
just content.
Might post the whole thing on YouTube. Who knows?
Amazing.
Yeah. But it's just a habit. Sometimes it's just like you need content in order to like build off of it, right?
Yeah.
So this could just end up being like a snip, like just a small snip that I take and put it on a short, or I could take like 10 minutes of this because maybe that's all that was good, and I chop it up into a 10-minute thing.
In Pig Latin for most of it.
Or I could take the whole thing and just post the whole thing. And there's a lot of benefits and like cons, I guess, to all those sorts of different like content making, but it's just like up to you what you want to do with it, right? So obviously, like if I were posting the whole thing, that is like better for building a relationship, right? Because people are just here with you. Like it's a different expectation. So if you look at an hour-long video or something, or an hour-long like podcast or audio, right? It's a lot more intimate, and people are expecting to just sit there for a long time. And so they take everything. They take all that I'm saying, the way that I say it. Yeah, the listeners, like people who will tune in, right? The way that I say it, like my inflections, the way that I mess up and like keep losing my words, all that stuff comes into play. So, but then if you don't want to do that, then you can chop it up. And then like there's, you could chop it up and it becomes a little bit more professional, but you lose a little bit of authenticity when it comes to that, right? Yeah. And then the worst one is like, I wouldn't say worst, but like the least like authentic one, or the least able to build a relationship with, is the shorts, because it's like you don't have that much exposure with each other, and with shorts it's like the expectation is different, so you have to like hold the attention of every second. If it's like 60 seconds and they're there and it's like it's not good for the first 2 or 3 seconds, then you're done. Like they just move on to the next thing.
But you don't have to have that with a long. If they're expecting it to be long, everything doesn't have to be perfect.
If it's long, then the expectation is different. So they like you can maybe get a couple minutes in before they're like, oh,
I like that. Good point.
So we were like how to build habits, right?
Yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, the environment is the biggest thing ever. So the way that he explains like how to build a good habit using environment is like, for example, if you want to lose weight, right? Or you want to start going to the gym, what should you do? Well, the first thing you could do is put your running shoes next to your bed. So when you wake up, it's the first thing that you see.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's literally that. It's like those little cues. So it's like, what's the first thing that people typically do when they wake up? They go reach for their phone. And then they go open the app. And then they're on TikTok for an hour, right? But that started with like first phone at proximity, then pick up phone habit, then open TikTok habit, then you're there for an hour, right? When you can stop that by like just putting your phone in a different room is an example.
Yeah.
So like that is how you shape your environment in small ways to have bigger effects. It starts with the phone just being next to you, right? But it spirals into you losing 2 hours of your day. Or with the shoes, where it's like it's just the shoes, and if you want to start a good habit, you put the shoes on and you step outside. And if that's the first day and that's all you do, that's a good win. That's a W.
Yeah.
That's how you start building up W's.
But for me, it's just like, since I have my whole day, I have a hard time. I feel like my day has to be stacked with habits, and if they're not fully figured out or like processed, they just don't happen. I like wander around like the studio and I'm making my day as I go, and then it's like the day is over, now you have to go teach. Like you didn't do anything, So that's what's tricky, because a lot of the things that I need to do are things I don't want to do. And there's another quote that says it's amazing how long it can take you to do something that you don't want to do. like your whole life,
Your
basically,
whole life.
like a lifetime. Because people don't do what they don't want to do.
Yeah.
So that's what's hard about it.
You'll find things to do, like just that's not it, you know, like watch Netflix or do anything else.
Yeah.
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 I don't know. So it's like I've been going to the gym consistently for the last year and a half, and I haven't really missed a day. And so it's like obviously, it's actually interesting. So you'll say like days that you don't want to go to the gym, like they come, right? Those days that you don't want to go. So it's like you have to fight against that in order to keep consistent with anything. So it's like, I guess that day comes with anything. It's not just the gym, right? It's like there will be days where you just don't want to do the things that you need to do. But the thing that I found with like the gym is that I just don't give myself an option, I guess.
Yeah.
And then those days don't come.
Right.
So it's like, I might think for a second like, maybe I don't want to go today.
Right.
But it's like I just do it anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to bridge that gap for somebody
Right.
that doesn't want to do it anyway. Because you just have to like get there and make the decision, right? Because at that point, it's like you're trying to make the good habit. You've been going for a couple of weeks, and then you just decide to stop. So it's like there's a point where you just can't decide to stop. And then like if you don't stop, you don't lose because you never quit, right? If you never quit, you never lose.
Yeah.
At something. At least you're like always trying to try.
Yeah.
So I don't know how do I get that with like content creation, because I've had to pick up content creation like a couple times already, right? I could have done this like years ago, and I just haven't been consistent with it. I dropped it, picked it up, dropped it.
You don't know how to apply that to content creation for you, because that's an area of struggle for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean outside
Like,
of saying that, outside of like just you have to pick to like not. You just have to like not give it an option.
For you with the gym.
Yeah.
But it hasn't worked for you with content creation.
So far, right now, it is, because this is more something I figured out like in the last like couple months.
Oh, okay.
But in the past, there was always that like, and then in the past I've always also been off of the gym too. In the gym, like it's been very synonymous together. Like before recently, with the gym and I guess content creation, I just gave myself an option to like not, and
Right.
and haven't been able to give myself that option recently. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like you have to eliminate it. I don't know how. I don't know how you like. give
How
that
did
to
you
people.
How did you do that? How did you eliminate it?
I don't know.
You have to figure out.
Yeah, you have to figure it out. Like, I don't know. You just wake up and you're like, I have to do it. There's no other way. Sometimes it maybe just takes like being how you say, like a rock in a hard place. Because that's kind of where I'm at right now. So maybe it just finally took that to be between a rock and a hard place.
Where you were just like,
Kind of cruising.
there's no option, like I just have to do it, kind of thing. But I'm saying like, maybe you can think about it. Like, how did you get to that point? Like, what brought you to that point? Because for me, I give myself an option for like everything, and that's my issue. Everything I do that's hard, I'm always like, I have options here. I can do this. I don't have to do this. I could do it like medium. It's like way too many choices, and that's why I struggle.
There's a quote by Alex Hormozy that kind of goes along the lines of like, how much are you losing every day? Like, how much does it cost for you to not have what you want or like have your goals, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
it's costing you $1 million every year to not make $1 million, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like that, right? So it's like if you don't end up doing it yourself, then it's never gonna get done, and it's costing yourself every year whatever that goal is.
That makes sense.
So it's like whatever you have, and then kind of what you were saying earlier. What were you saying like earlier? You were like, man, what were you saying earlier? I swear you were saying
Talking about
something.
7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and then I read the quotes from the podcast.
Yeah.
Or the questions, rather. It was like 4 questions to write on a whiteboard.
What were the questions? Oh, maybe what truth am I pretending not to know, I guess, is kind of along the lines.
Yeah. I think the problem is like.
And also, if I don't change my daily habits, and my life will be better or worse better or worse 3 years from now, if you don't change your daily habits. So like, between those 2 questions, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, what's costing you? You know, like what is it costing you? If you have goals and you have aspirations, it's costing you exactly that every time you don't do it.
Yeah. That's good.
So sometimes you just have to sit down and like do it. And that's it. That's the only option you have.
Right. And I think at the end of the day, like people avoid hard things, and so that's what I'm doing, like avoiding the things I need to do. And I think the question is, when does the cost become great enough to cause you to decide that's it? Like, it's when people hit rock bottom, when something snaps, when it's like something happens to cause you to realize there's no way but up from here. Like, I have to. Like, there's one option, and it is I have to do this. But for me, like, because I'm so comfortable all the time and I'm fighting with that, I'm not at rock bottom, and so it's up to me, and the cost isn't great enough. There's this whole like mental. So, anyways, and then I'm like, well, I don't have to do hard things. I cannot do that. It'll be fine. I'm sure it'll happen one day before I die, or something. I'm terrible at that. So, but that's good. Those are good things to think about. But I think it's also important I think they were saying in the podcast, to be honest with yourself and just realize you want to do something, but you're not doing it. Stop making excuses and ask yourself, what do I really want? And if you decide you don't want that anymore, great, congratulations, that's a win. Because now you're not lying to yourself and trying to make excuses. You're choosing a different goal, or you're changing. And people change their goals all the time based on what they want to do now. So, I don't know.
It just depends on like what is it actually that you want, and sometimes that changes. And sometimes you want something, but you realize it's too hard, do you actually want it that much?
Do you want it as much as it's going to take? Yeah. I think that's what separates people. Because some people just, the answer is no. And they don't do it.
So, at the end of the day, it is an on and off switch. It's kind of like, there's a lot of principles that'll help you. Atomic habits will help you. All these things will help you. But at the end of the day, so it's kind of like, I guess like business porn. In a sense, you know, but it's the same thing with anything. Like they call it. There's another thing to describe it probably, but like you just are okay with. It's the same like consuming information
like
the whole time.
Like the surface level kind of just like.
Yeah, and just consuming. So it's like like feeling.
And that's like your comfort zone because it gives you a tiny dose of like adrenaline, like makes you feel like you're doing it, but you're not actually.
Yeah, I mean, finishing like a video and like researching it is enough like dopamine at that point to be like, oh, okay, cool. But then you don't actually apply it, and like implementing it is a whole nother thing. And that's
sense.
like in psychology, it's that. It's like so actually like, because your brain doesn't know. It's hard. Your brain doesn't know kind of from like reality to what happened. So, for example, like if I'm just telling you my goals and I'm telling you like what I want, like I'm doing this, I'm going to have 15 clients by the end of the year and have $100,000, etc. Like your mind makes that, it has that in its head, and creates a story, and then part of you believes that you did it at that point, like as I'm telling you my goals. So like. You have to fight against that psychologically, because it gives you that like sense of accomplishment when nothing was actually done. We just get that from it.
It's really good, very helpful.
Which is like, it's not to mean that you shouldn't tell other people your goals, but there actually is like a bit of that.
There is what?
A bit of that. Like, I'm not saying to not tell people about your goal set, like, and what you want to do, but it's like there's a bit of fighting. I mean, no, you do it if you want, but then just realize that you have to fight against that psychology. So it's like, don't be happy with just telling people about it.
Yeah. Crazy.
Like, the most cliche example I can use is like the kid making music. He's just gonna like drop his album, dude. Like he's making rap music. Like I swear, dude, I'm rapping. Buy my album, and then it's like he doesn't actually ever do many songs or anything. Like he doesn't actually work hard on it, right? He's just telling people about it. It's kind of like that.
Good. So what are your, like, I don't know, since our last meeting, do you have any follow-up advice or whatever? If we were to, like, keep going off of what we talked about last time?
Well, I mean, you had problems. You were giving up on me after 2 days. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, we need to address that. Because it's like, not, you know, you're going to suck. Everyone sucks at everything that they start, right? Like, you didn't just pick up an instrument and be good at it in 2 days. Mm-hmm. So it's like this is the same thing with doing this and making videos. Like, you're not going to be good at it after 2 days.
But I did like the TikTok that you sent. That was good.
Yes. I didn't know if it was going to hit with you. Everyone's different, but it's like the fear thing is definitely true. Like, I'm sure there might be even a little bit of like, oh, what if I post this? And like, someone sees it, you know, some cute boy from high school. Like, I don't fucking know. But once we get past the fear thing, what you're doing is good. Like, I saw a couple of your posts. Like, just keep experimenting. But then you have to realize a little. I don't know if I didn't put enough emphasis on this when we spoke. Yeah. Of like intentional consuming, intentional consumption. Have you been intentionally consuming?
What does that mean?
So it's like when I was saying it, it's like you're gonna spend time on these. If your main platform is gonna be TikTok, you should spend a couple hours on TikTok and
so
like
I can see what they're actually doing.
And just like scroll.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Scroll and like see what other people are doing, and then
idea.
you copy paste, like you know, but not necessarily copy paste, but you copy like an artist.
Follow the platform. Obviously.
Yeah,
that's a good point because I literally haven't been on TikTok in like 2 years.
Every platform has its own culture, its own identity.
Sense.
It's like it works completely differently.
If I want to actually be in that culture, I have to look at what it's like.
Yeah. And you scroll, the algorithm will start putting up together things for you, and you are the algorithm, so it'll start becoming like you, a reflection of you, and you can start taking these ideas and start making content with it. So like a lot of what your problem is like you should start getting comfortable with like a little bit of editing, or just be really exact on the video.
Okay. Because I ramble.
Well, there's the thing called there you ramble, and then like but that's fine. Like that's a skill, right? Like learning how to communicate and talk, and I obviously am very bad at it as myself, but like I'm getting better. But like live talking, podcasting, live videos and stuff like that, like and communicating through that is a skill a lot of people don't have, and but you can get better at it. So enunciating yourself and your ideas, you'll get ideas on how to do that through consuming. But like a lot of you had information. There's I'll have to get my phone later, or maybe I could pull it up on my laptop. But there's a couple examples where it's like you're trying to give information, and if you just said it differently, it would make a lot more sense, and it'd be a lot more effective. Yeah. So I think the one that could come to mind right now is even just the one with your brother. So you were talking about how you just got a conversation with your brother. Yeah. And that could be the story. But so it's like you start off with, so I was just having a conversation with my brother, and like this happened, and this happened, so I told him this. And once you have that structure, it'll make more, like it makes more sense instead of just like rambling off. Sure.
So what would the structure look like?
Start with the story of, so I had a conversation with my brother today about X. And the conflict is X. So like whatever the conflict was, he broke up with his girlfriend. And then you explain resolution. Yeah. Basically just basic communication, like patterns. I mean, it's like, it's hook, like story / introduction, right? Like conflict resolution. And it just that's like a very basic story pattern. Like you could use that in anything. Yeah. And then just play around with that. So what could be a different hook than like I had a conversation with my brother today, or it could be my brother broke up with his girlfriend and X, or whatever. Like think of these things. What would be more interesting? And that would be the first part into what you guys talked about. Like, what's the conflict? Like, he broke up with his girlfriend. What did I say to him? The resolution. How did it end? And you'll have that idea in the back of your head. It'll come out better. Yeah. Makes sense. Or a different way of delivering the same kind of stuff. And I think there was another one, but I forgot. But basically, you could even, like, a very simple one is like, here are the top 3 things of X. Oh, books. Here are the top 3 things I learned from book.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of like, because in that case it's more informational. So you want to give the information. But I guess you could do both. If you want to if you want to tell a story about it, then tell a story. But then like do the information 1 and 2 and make it more concise. Because it's like you start off, hey, so I got this book the other day and I was reading it. You know, one of the sentences told me this, and I learned like, you know.
It takes really, really long.
Versus these are the top 3 things I learned from this book. Number 1 is X.
Yeah. Just more brief, basically.
It's just put together. You'll see as you start consuming, you'll see these types of examples.
Right.
And you'll look back to this conversation, you'll be like, oh, that's what he was talking about.
Yep.
Like, so just
I get that.
intentionally consume, and then like what I was saying is you'll have the little save button on TikTok, and you can start making collections, right? And this is where that like second brain hypothesis comes in. But like you already do a lot of it anyway. You basically just note taking. Like it's basically all it is. It's just a little bit more fancy. And so in the same way, you take and you build your second brain with TikTok and start note taking on TikTok. So it's like I do collections. Like this one's about music. This one's about art. This one I have a new one that I started doing was hooked. So like
What is it?
hooked, which is just like HOOC or HOOKED, hooked, like because that's basically any video that's just like, oh wow, this stopped. Like I stopped for it. I don't know why, but I stopped for it. So it's like whatever made me
Attention grabbing.
Yeah, it made me stop, and it's like I'll look and I'll put it in that collection so I can look at it later. Like why did I stop? Is it because what was on the screen? Is it because the first couple words that they said? Is it a combination of both? Was it the sound? Like, etc. So I can start looking more into those. And it'll be different for different people. So like, what hooked you? Put that down.
What?
Like whatever hooked you put that down.
Yeah.
It'll be different for different people. And that's really helped me to like start studying. So like I have music, I have anime, I have the gym, I have all this stuff, like stuff that I would like because it's just me anyway. Because it shows you it, and then I look back as ideas.
Sort it.
And you sort it down so you can look back on it later. Then actually look back on it later, like actually, because this is like the research portion. This is actual work in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And then you take that and you just copy it, like, and make it yourself. So.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of good information, I feel like. And even the stories are fine too. You were walking out of Staples or something, and you're like, hey, I was walking out of Staples. But the problem with that one was they call it the millennial pause.
Okay.
And it's basically like the video starts and you're sitting there looking at the camera for a second.
Oh, okay.
And then you speak.
And you got to edit that out.
And even that, yeah,
Sure.
because it's just
Okay.
like when we think about it,
it dates you or whatever. It's like an old school thing to do, kind of.
well,
whatever.
it's not even that. I think it's just like what the kids
That's
have called
funny.
it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but
That's really funny.
yeah, it is hilarious. And so
I'm very millennial. We have to know.
and so like
Never heard that before, but that makes a lot of sense.
I didn't hear about it till last week. I was like, that's very interesting.
That's hilarious.
But like I was saying earlier, with a short, like 60 seconds, for example, it's like every second counts. It's crazy, and it's just because they can just scroll to the next one and be entertained by something else immediately.
Yeah.
So
I think go ahead, and then I have a thought.
no, I mean it's like so every second counts, and so you have to fight for every second in terms of eventually, you have to learn how to fight for every second of attention.
Makes a lot of sense. Do you do this, or do you just like study it and like to share that information with others because that's not your personal goal, but you know about it?
Both. I'm studying it and I'm trying to put it more into practice as we speak.
Yeah.
It's just taking time. Like obviously my shorts like haven't done too well either. On Instagram, I posted one that did pretty well, but it was like it's different.
I know it's a different culture, like you were saying.
It's different culture.
Each social media platform is different.
Yeah.
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, they all have their own audience.
And also like the video that I popped off for me was like an 8-second video of like a joke that I made. So it's like that's fine. But how much worth is that to me, right? Like, so I got 1,600 views out of it and maybe like 2 followers, maybe.
Right.
There's not much value out of that I got, right? Even though like it's an experiment, so I keep doing these things. And I guess it just depends on what your goal is. If you're trying to like get enough views just so people like see you, then that's good. Keep making more of those. But it's like there's no connection in that. They just kind of like see. But I guess you could argue. I'm going everywhere right now. Because I guess you could argue like that along with other content, then that changes your whole thing. Because it's like you have the short videos that are catchy, get a lot of views, then they see you for a couple of seconds, and they might not make the best connection there, but it's a portal, it's a doorway to the rest of your content. So like they'll see that and they'll be like, oh, this guy's funny, and then they go into a longer video, and then they realize like, oh, here's the connection, right? So you could argue, I guess. But yeah, I'm trying to figure it out because on TikTok it didn't work at all, and on Instagram it did. So.
Yeah, and that's what I'm doing. I'm literally just I blanket share onto both, kind of.
Yeah, and you should at first.
Well, but also it's just like you said, it's a different culture, so it doesn't what works on one doesn't usually work on the other. So there's that.
Not necessarily. It's just not all the time, and and TikTok is a lot more trendy than Instagram. So it's like, let's say for example you do like specifically a TikTok trend, that might not convert so well on Instagram unless that trend is also on Instagram.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like if you're just, for example, like especially informational, like if you're just sharing information content, these are the top 3 things that I learned from X book. Like why wouldn't I do well on both?
Yeah.
I
think I'm thinking of it more in like a sense of, because the comment that you said about like it should be easy for you, for me that is to just ramble.
Yeah.
It's easy. And eventually we'll get there, but like people aren't gonna watch that, and I get that, but that's just like, that's what I currently am good at. And so for me, that's easy to like post a 2-minute of myself rambling, and that's it. Like I don't like editing, whatever, but then that's also laziness. But like if I'm supposed to do what's easy for me, it's currently what's easy for me. But
well, you just have to get better at communicating.
yes.
At the end of the day, if you don't want to like edit that much, that's fine. You should edit a little bit, like I was saying, just for those little misconceptions. But it's like that's the skill. So if you know that, then you know what you have to work on, which is just like getting better at communication and talking.
I might just have to send them to you. I could send them to you and say, how can I say this differently and shorter? Because I've always been really good at making things take longer than they need to. Also would like to believe, I hope I've gotten better, but I'm still really bad. So it's like,
and it's just practice.
Right.
Like just make more videos, and it should come.
Yeah.
See if I can.